dubbed one of the biggest prison escape scandals in South Africa. Convicted rapist and murderer Thabo Bester and his escape accomplices were one of the biggest headlines in 2023. The news circuit made major rounds on the local and international scene. This is after journalists from Ground Up broke the story of how the once so-called Facebook rapist used a decoy to escape a correctional facility and was pictured living large at a luxurious mall in Sandton a few months later. The four-part true crime documentary chronicles these events with special commentary from various people. But let's give you a quick snapshot of tracking Thabo Bester.
Announced that the rapist and murderer Thabo Bester
had burned to death in his prison cell.
It's a story that's made headlines here and abroad.
Tom Mutsepe.
Tikengwana.
Whatever his name is, the Facebook rapist.
I don't even know who he is, child.
His name is Thabo Bester. There were rumors that Bester had escaped and that he had not died.
Who is this man who would dare something like this?
Thabo and his girlfriend, Dr. Nandipha
Makudumana. Perfect Bonnie and Clyde story.
I've never seen a love like this.
The things that she chooses to do for this guy will leave you going, yo.
Smuggling a body.
What the was that?
It's a movie, guys.
These victims, how scared must they have been?
Next customer, please.
There they are, in possibly the busiest shopping center in the country.
This guy is not dead. This guy escaped.
He's out jolling for a year.
It seemed that the police weren't doing anything at all.
There is, of course, a manhunt.
So be safe out there.
This story is just so bizarre. Well, we are joined now in studio by the people who put this entire story into film. We're joined by the director and producer of Tracking Thabo Bester, Nikki, Comninos and Elle Oosthuizen. Ladies, thank you so much for joining us. Such a pleasure having you. I mean, let's talk a little bit from the beginning, right? As a producer, talk to me a little bit about how this even got started, that you would work on this documentary. It gripped all of our attention. Was it just the story that you could not let go of?
Yes, it was the story, but it was also the interest from the public and the media tracking this story and won't let go of it. And then Showmax approached us and said, don't you want to see if there's a documentary in this story? Don't you want to develop and see what can come out of it?
Yeah, and then how did you become director? Talk to us about that process.
I have a long working relationship with Idea Candy, who produced the documentary works on Devilsdorp and Steinheist and Rosemary's Hit List and Convict Conman together. So we have a good working relationship, and I was so very happy to be able to do the story. I think it touches on so many things that are important to South African society. And
it's interesting that I mean, you mentioned some of the examples of those previous true crime sort of documentaries that we've had come out to South Africa. And it also, I suppose, begs the question about whether or not there's now a demand for true crime documentaries coming out of South Africa. It's not a great story to tell that we have those examples and those stories, but there's a demand for them, certainly.
I think so. I mean, we do live in a country that's riddled with crime, but I think these kind of stories and the way that Idea Candy produces them allows us to unpack issues that impact South African society. So, like with Tracking Thabo Bester, there's a sensationalism to it, but we also spend time doing real analysis and trying to understand the society that we live in. Why do we have so much crime? Yeah. So it's not only that, obsession with crime, it's also trying to unpack it.
There's a lot to piece together. I'm sure as a producer, there's so many moving parts to the Thabo Bester and Nandipha Makudumana saga. Talk to me about that. I mean, the time invested and some of the things that you found out along the way that perhaps some of us have missed.
Yes, there is little bits that that came up along the way, but that is all. We leave it all.
You're saving it for the documentary.
We're saving it for the documentary. Yes.
Yeah. So, but talk to me about, was there difficulty in getting some of those moving parts together? Because I think one of the things that we found is that it's one of those stories where there's the view and the perception that a lot of powerful people may be involved in this matter. I mean, it reached the highest echelons of our society. How difficult was it to access some of that information?
Yes. Every documentary comes with its challenges. And what's a challenge in our previous documentary won't necessarily be for the current one. This one also came with challenges, participants, getting people to talk to us, our timings, how much time we had to tell the story, and get it. So yes, but I do feel we are a strong team. So overcoming those challenges and finding solutions to it so that we are still able to tell our story is important.
Yeah, so obviously, I don't know if you've seen the latest coming out of this saga, and one of the things that's come up, of course, is Nandipha Makutumana taking issue with the documentary coming out in and of itself, and she's raised this issue as well, saying essentially she has not given permission for this documentary to be made, and that it could likely cause irreparable damage to her image and reputation. I mean, and I'll give this to both of you, but perhaps, Nikki, you start. Your views on what she's had to say.
Well, we feel very well protected by the multi-choice legal team that is dealing with this.
This matter,
yeah.
So we won't comment on that. I just want to say that documentary making is also journalism. And telling a story that's in the public interest is our right to do, and the public's right to know it.
Is there not at all a concern, though, in how this might impact the legal process that's playing out? And I make this example because we watched the Senzo Meyiwa issue playing out in court for a very long time. A lot of the focus being just how much was exposed through the documentary made about Senzo Meyiwa. I mean, are you concerned about those lines being blurred and telling the story and how that might impact the legal process?
No, we're not concerned about that.
Okay. Nikki?
No, I think we've made a huge amount of effort to be ethical and do everything with integrity. We obviously have consultation with a huge team, so we trust our story and we believe in our story.
Okay, so do you believe that when the film comes out that it will be coming out and that Nandipha will not be successful in, I suppose, pausing with the documentary coming out?
I have to say that no comment on that. I need to leave that for the multi-choice legal team. Yes.
Talk to me about the moments, and as the director, the moments that really stand out for you. I mean, one of the things that we've seen is that South Africans, anytime Nandipha Makutumana is appearing, in the doc, or Thabo Bester, the public attention is palpable. I mean, it really, really is something, right? Moments for you that really, really stand out, that proved that South Africans are so invested in this story, Nikki.
I think that was part of our angle, is that we wanted, when you're watching the series, to feel what we all felt as South Africans, the kind of flabbergasted nature the flabbergasted feelings we were feeling when things were coming out. So We've tapped into social media responses. We've tapped into journalists who were covering the story. We're also heroing, obviously, Ground Up, who did incredible work, and the other journalists in South Africa. I mean, we have strong press and strong media in this country. So I think that was very joyful for us to be able to hero these people who were doing the important work and sharing some humor along the way. South Africans can't escape sharing a joke.
and that's the reality. I mean, there's the Romeo and Juliet sort of thing that South Africans are looking at. I mean, that's essentially what I'm trying to get to, right? The storyline for you that really stands out, that for you was said, South Africans just love this story.
Yeah, they do. And it's a bizarre story.
Yeah.
It is absolutely bizarre. But they love it, and I think that is why the response on social media and from the public was so big, and that's why it was important for us to include some of that response in our documentary.
Yeah, and what's the response been on social media to the words of, or the word coming up, this documentary is coming out? Because I can imagine quite a bit of excitement.
They're excited. Yeah. It's really good response. It's all over and the public's excited. Yeah. I'm excited.
No, I think a lot of people are. They really want to be watching this. What's the role that ground-up journalists have played in the film as well?
So they are our main characters on screen, but they were also our consultants on the story. So we had very good, deep research going on. But it was really nice to also get a bit of their personality, because I think they did such a wonderful job in the journalism that you didn't actually get to know them as people. And I think the documentary allows us to I mean, they're very young. They're under 30, both of them, cracking such an important case. So it's really nice to get to know them as 3D characters.
Yeah. What do you think, what do you hope this film will do? Not just for journalism in South Africa or storytelling, but certainly what you think the documentary is going to hopefully teach South Africans about the country that we live in?
Yes, I think it will make our public aware of what's going on and give them all the details of what's currently happening in our country.
Yeah.
And then the fact that they were caught again. And they're going to stand trial soon.
Yeah, that justice prevails.
Yes, that justice prevails. Although there's a lot of things in our country that are broken, but there's a lot of things that are not broken. And I think the whole of South Africa is going to want justice.
Okay, so let's talk about the important stuff, the logistical stuff. When is the documentary coming out? How many parts are we looking at? All of that stuff.
4-part documentary. Episode 1 and 2 will be available on Showmax from 15th of March. And episode 3 and 4 will be available on the 22nd of March.
I can imagine a lot of people across the country making that note quickly in their diaries to watch it. It's been such a pleasure speaking to you, ladies.
Such a pleasure.
And we look forward to chatting even after the documentary has aired. Tracking Thabo Bester is on Showmax on the 15th of March. Make sure that you do take a look at it. We've been speaking to Nikki, Comninos, who's director, and Elle, Oosthuizen, who's producer of, once again, Tracking Thabo Bester documentary, a 4-part docuseries coming out.